talking comedy, as we said, as we have been talking extensively, whether people like it or not. And so we're going to pitch some comedy to Matt. So we've each got a comedy idea that we're going to pitch to him to review next week. Who wants to go first? I feel like he's not going to pick mine because I've got the darkest
I feel like we've
thing.
talked about yours a lot
We have mentioned
in the
mine.
podcast, so maybe you could go first.
Oh, I'm not going to win this week though.
Oh,
All right.
I love your confidence.
I
in
am
your show.
pitching BoJack Horseman, which you can find on Netflix,
Okay.
and it's my new favourite thing ever.
It is great.
It is good.
It
And
is
it also
brilliant.
has a great theme tune, which is important.
And that whole opening sequence is very cool.
Yeah, you're probably going to get a bit more mirth out of the other options that are going to be recommended.
I think it's very funny, BoJack.
It's very funny. It's very funny, but it's very dark. It's very right up my street. So it's an animated. It's a cartoon about a talking horse. Essentially, it's set in a world of people and these anthropomorphic animal people.
Right. Okay.
Which is played off. Yes, definitely make sure it's animated. So there's sort of people who are half animal and half human, and but there's also normal people as well. And there's an interesting sort of running gag of how how this works. So like the bird people can fly, and the people the animal people tend to behave a little bit like the animals, which is a good running gag. But he is an ex-famous. He used to be in a sitcom. Like a family show sitcom. I can't really think of a good example of like an American style,
Like the Cosby Show.
like that sort of thing. Exactly, that's exactly what a parody is.
Without the kind of connotations.
Yes.
That's a fantastic example because that's exactly what a parody of, because he has the sweaters on and everything and all the flashbacks.
True, yeah.
So he used to be very famous back in the 90s,
It was called Horsing Around.
and a show called Horsing Around where he adopted 3 kids.
Horsing around.
Horsing Around, no G.
Yeah.
But now he is a washed-up alcoholic, desperate for fame and love again.
It actually sounds like Different Strokes now that you've just said that, because that's where he adopts children in that as well.
Yeah, it's basically
Sorry,
a parody of all those sorts of
yeah.
shows. And it's about him essentially just trying to be loved again. But he's a very depressive character. He's a combination of self-loathing and self-love. Like he's a complete egomaniac, but at the same time he hates himself, and he self-destructive, yeah. And it's about him trying to just get a little bit of fame back and a little bit of love. He just wants people to love him, but but he hates everyone.
Yeah.
So it's never going to work.
It's
he's just horrible to
one
everyone.
of those characters that is always kind of causing his own problems. He causes quite a lot of his own problems.
Yeah.
He's horrible to people,
he's
but he wants people to
manipulative
like
and he's
him.
rude
that
and
kind
he's
of thing.
unpleasant. I love the opening titles.
Yes.
Because
they're
it's
great.
him. It's that sort of static camera first person thing you get in things like Skins and stuff all the time. Slightly overused concept, but here it's an animated. So it's him drifting through life in the opening titles, drinking himself into a stupor, and then maybe trying to kill himself. You're not really sure what happens at the end of the opening titles. It's everyone else looks really concerned by what happens at the end of the opening titles.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be like it's the only suicide that happens in the entire show.
Could have been an accident, though.
It could have been an accident. But it's a very, very dark, but it's very funny.
And the other
quite
characters
surreal.
are also very well neatly drawn and very clear, and not neatly drawn.
Not-
I was
not
going to
neatly
say,
drawn, you mean.
I mean as characters.
Neatly defined. Or...
Yeah.
I think how it works for me as a comedy is the fact that the characters themselves are funny, which is great, but there's a lot of background comedy. There's a lot of like, oh, what does that billboard say? What's that character doing? And it's in the background.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you constantly
The-
looking around for jokes.
I
Which
don't want
I
to do
think is
spoilers, but I
brilliant.
want to just say back about the show. So the Hollywood sign loses the D at one point, and then from then on, the entire rest of the show, everyone refers to it as Holly Woo in every context. No one says Hollywood again. Everyone says Holly Woo.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? It just happens. No one makes a point of it. It just happens.
And it is, like I was saying earlier, it's similar to Orange is the New Black, of the fact that you didn't realise until I got to like episode 11, I think it was, that how invested you are in the characters.
Well, yeah, it's Kaylee. I have the Kaylee story. I binged this. My brothers recommended it, and I binged season 1. And they said, Kaylee, you have to watch this show. I then came back from work after Kaylee binged it, and she's crying her eyes out.
And an animated horse going, what's happened right now?
So it's a show about an animated talking horse that will ruin you emotionally, but you laugh.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I feel like you should give it a go. So
Okay, then,
I'm going to pass the rock
what's
to
next?
Well, I think
Juliette.
Juliette should...
Sure. Okay, so I would like to pitch to you. I was considering pitching Fleabag, which I do recommend, but I would like to pitch to you a podcast. It's the first episode of a podcast. You've only got one to go, which is grand. It is. I write for an online magazine called Standard Issue magazine, and it is. It was founded by Sarah Millican.
Oh right, okay.
Oh, now you're interested.
Oh,
all right,
it's
all right,
perked up
all
now.
right. So it's an online magazine founded by Sarah Millican, and her idea was she wanted to start a no bullshit women's magazine, except that it's not just for women; it's for everybody. It happens to only include articles written by women. But I mean, these are articles that I don't think anyone's written about makeup or hair or anything like that. It's about real stuff that we really care about. So the stuff that I've written for Standard Issue has been as diverse as, and they asked me to write something for Sesame Street Day. So I wrote about why I love for Sesame Street and why it philosophically is brilliant and we need more of that kind of stuff in the world. I wrote about why I love Barack Obama. I wrote an article about why my ideal husband is Gonzo the Muppet. And I've also written more serious stuff, but with a kind of funny comedic edge, about my history with eating disorders, about being sectioned, about the there was a Beachbody Ready fiasco that I got accidentally involved in, which is a part of one of my comedy shows that Christian's seen as well.
I was even caught up in it a little bit.
You did, yeah. You were
online.
Yeah, it was a big kind of Twitter online fiasco. But I wrote, that was how I got my first ever article.
Is that the London Underground?
Yeah.
There's
So, but I mean, if you read that article, then that's how I first got involved with Standard Issue, is because that happened, and one of my friends who already wrote for them said to the editor, Juliette is a funny girl. She's a funny woman. She's involved accidentally in this, and we need to give her a platform to explain what happened. Anyway, point being, read those articles. Read the other articles. There's so many brilliant articles. Some written by Sarah Millican herself. Others written by other comedians. Some written by people who are not comedians but just fantastic writers. They've started doing a podcast. And they recorded it at the Leicester Square Theatre a couple of weekends ago, and I was at the recording. So when you hear a laugh that sounds like a bird squawking, that's me. And I was sitting next to the editor who'd got me the ticket, and it's fantastic. It was the deputy editor of the magazine was hosting. Usually it's the editor, but it was the deputy editor's birthday that week, so she got to do it. And she was interviewing Sarah Millican, Kathy Burke, and Joe Brand.
Oh, nice.
These three pillars of the comedy community on stage answering brilliant questions that they ranged the questions dramatically from things about being a woman in comedy, but more individual. I mean, I've been asked the same questions again and again and again by interviewers, and these questions were all slightly unexpected, and they were answered sometimes hilariously and sometimes really seriously. One of the questions they asked was, what makes you really angry? And there was some brilliant impromptu stuff about stacking dishwashers incorrectly, or forgetting to take the bins out, and of course coming back to the ever wonderful topic of Trump as well. It was brilliantly funny, but also really engaging. Those three women, I mean, it was just incredible to be there, and I got to go backstage and meet them afterwards, which
that does sound good, actually.
in this very jumper that I'm wearing right now, which says Rebel on it, and Joe Brand complimented me on my jumper. So
can I just double check you there? You're saying that women care about more things than makeup and hair?
No. Shockingly, and fashion, even though I have just brought it back to a jumper.
Yeah.
So, and the lovely thing also about this recording was that I looked around the audience, and it was a diverse audience. It wasn't like the only people who were attracted to come to this were women. It was men, women, old, young. There's a bit of swearing in it. It's the very first one of a series of podcasts they're going to be
it's got
doing.
Joe Brand and Kathy Burke in it, I would expect.
It was fantastic. So you can find it on the Standard Issue website, this podcast, and
I'll put a link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, you can find it. I found it on iTunes
It's
and
so
all.
good.
What's it called?
It's
Is it just
available.
called the Standard Issue Podcast? Or
I believe so. Yeah, I think it's just Standard Issue podcast.
And it is new, isn't it? It hasn't got very many.
No,
one episode.
This is the one episode.
Get in at the ground floor.
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
I don't know about Matt, but you sold me on it. I'm
Brilliant.
like, I'll write that down.
Well, if you listen to that, then also go and read the articles on the magazine as well, and you can also join up to become a member of their their gang. So none of the writers get paid, but they do have a
Well, become a member of the gang.
you can find out. But you become a very, very special VIP for standard issue. The writers don't get paid, but they do have this small editorial team who are just the loveliest people. They email me, like, I've been on editorial teams in the past where there's not a lot of love for each other, but every time I pitch an idea to the editor, she comes back to me saying, oh, hello, lovely chops. And just they're a great team who really care about their writers. So just putting that out there, Matt. It's pretty cool. And only the coolest kids are listening to this podcast. Or
Yeah. Kind of ran into a wall at the end there, but
little bit. Look, I was going to say that you could also buy tickets for the next podcasts that they're planning to record, and they're now available from the Leicester Square Theatre website, and they've got some incredible names, huge names, and it's all thanks to Sarah Millican being friggin' awesome.
Kaylee, since we're all staring at you now,
Yay.
do your pitch.
Okay, great. So I'm pitching a show called Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. It's a Netflix show. It's created by Tina Fey, who I love, and Robert Carlock. It's a brilliant show. So to kind of paint a picture, it's about a girl that was kidnapped when she was a child.
16, I think she was.
Oh, yeah, so like 15, 16.
Out of context, that sounds really bad that you just
Yeah,
laughed at
this
that.
is hilarious.
Yeah,
It's
she was
hilarious.
kidnapped.
Horse
when she was a child.
suicide
It
and
was
girls
amazing.
being kidnapped. That's what comedy's all about.
Yeah.
So it's about a girl called Kimmy Schmidt, and she is taken by this sort of vicar, like priest kind of
himself a preacher,
person.
yeah.
He calls himself a preacher, and her and like 5 other girls are kept underground because they have been told that the world has ended. And then the show starts with them being released and realizing that actually all of the the past 15 years she's been in this bunker has been a complete lie. So it's about her, the fact that she spent 15 years in a bunker with these 5 women and this man, believing that the world's ended, and it's about her trying to adapt to like nowadays New York. Yeah, so the main crux of the show is you've got a girl that's been kept underground for 15 years, called Kimmy Schmidt, and it's about her adapting to New York, and it's about her kind of trying to live with the fact that her whole life for like 15 years has kind of been a lie. And there's quite a lot of things of her trying to fit into New York, and the fact that she meets a guy who's like she kind of tries to get a house, and she tries to get a job, she's trying to kind of get her life sort of sorted, and it's one of those shows where she's such a brilliant character. It's played by Ellie Kemper, and she does it like amazingly well. But it's also the fact that they're kind of side characters as well. The fact that they've got
I know what you're thinking about. You think like, what's this going to be her wacky hijinks as she tries to figure out real life? No, every character in the show is completely insane.
Yeah, it's one of those.
It's not really real life that she's trying to figure out there.
It's a very surreal landscape of New York.
It's got some like it's just a crazy story surrounded by crazy characters. So it's like it got to like shout out to Titus.
Yeah.
The character like Titus Burgess is an actor. He's been on Broadway many times. He plays a character called Titus Andromedon, which is brilliant. And he's just a big black gay actor that just and he is amazing.
Completely self-absorbed.
And there's so many things with the show where you're kind of laughing because you're like, because she doesn't understand a reference to something, and she obviously doesn't understand this. You're kind of laughing at some of the stuff that happens in the bunker when she's kept underground that is kind of ridiculously kind of stupid. But then you're laughing at the characters around her, the fact that she kind of goes, oh, okay, I've escaped now, and the weirdos that I was with in the bunker are going to be,
She's the relatable character because you know why she's weird, but you kind of just learn why everybody else is weird.
Right. Yeah.
I also like, with that show, I particularly like about her character because she has been in this bunker for so long, since she was quite young.
Yes,
that she doesn't have any of the cynicism that most adults, especially ones in New York, actually have.
Very happy
she's very
on
innocent.
Life.
She's very she expects everybody to be good.
Yeah.
Despite what has happened to her, she does kind of believe that everybody is going to be nice,
as well
and everybody is trustworthy.
So all the kind of her personal development into an adult human being has
always,
happened in isolation away from this.
Yeah, so she's still very childlike in a way that she's had no other adults
it's interesting to
know how to adult.
Yeah, it's interesting as well because her role in the bunker was constantly trying to make everybody else happy, and she kind of fitted into that role so well that when she's out into the real world, she's just like, I'm happy, everybody else is happy, kind of thing. I think it works because it's absolutely hilarious.
It is.
The whole show
really funny.
Absolutely
Wall-to-wall
hilarious.
jokes.
It's quotable. It's
I do
just
like things
amazing.
like-
Yeah,
like
this
that,
is definitely one of top of that game. I mean, like I say, every character is completely insane.
Yeah.
Or weird in some way. At one point, she starts going out with this British guy who you think is normal. He seems like the most normal guy.
Yeah.
And that's maybe what his purpose is in the show. But then there's a scene of him riding around on a tiny horse. And it turns out he's not really British. His parents just really wanted a British kid. So they made him watch lots of British television. And I'm like, okay, well, he's weird as well then. Everyone's weird.
It is one of those shows where it's really impossible to have like a favorite character because all the characters are amazing. I gotta mention the theme tune because obviously the theme tune is a brilliant thing for the show as well. So the whole
Unbreakable.
Damn it. It's a miracle. He's been wanting to sing that for so long.
I can't help but sing that all
I'm
the
going to
time.
give you like a bit of a backstory of the very quick backstory about the theme tune. So it's one of those things where the beginning of the show opens with them being discovered and kind of like the armed forces turning up and letting them all out of the bunker. And a guy who lives very close to where the underground bunker is interviewed by the news to find out like what he knew about anything. And it's one of those things that happens quite a lot with YouTube videos where somebody gets interviewed and then they turn it into a song. So they like auto-tune it and remix it.
Yeah.
So the theme tune comes from that, of the guy that lives near the bunker, his
being turned into a
interview.
viral song video.
And it's brilliant. It's such a catchy theme tune that pretty much encapsulates the show as well. And it's just genius.
And I love when you meet that character later as well.
Yeah.
And he actually talks in auto-tune.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck?
It's I can't recommend it enough. It's funny. It's just brilliant. It's one of those things I showed my mother it the other day when she was back, and it's one of those shows you can show anybody.
We did. We showed your mum the pilot, and we ended up watching like half the series or something.
It's so easy
was
to
like,
binge
"Let's watch
it,
more."
and it's one of those things where you're like, "This is the best episode
I mean,
ever." You watch
BoJack.
the next one.
Damn, I'm overselling Katie's pitch.
No,
Damn it.
it's brilliant. I can't recommend it enough. So that my pitch is Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Give it a watch. Do you have any questions?
How many seasons of that on Netflix are there?
There are two series,
seasons.
and hopefully there's going to be more.
Yeah, you watched it when it first came out.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I kind of drifted in and out. I was like, oh, this doesn't look that good. And then I started watching it and just binged the whole 2 seasons immediately. And it's like, I just have can't say any fairer than that.
It's
How long is it?
How long
Well,
is
each
it?
episode-
That was a good
Yeah.
question. Well, it's like a half-hour format.
Right. Okay.
yeah.
But I can't
It's
remember.
How
how
about your one as well? Is that a similar?
The same, yeah, sort of 20,
Right, okay.
20 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah, so the standard kind of American
Yeah.
TV.
Sitcom length.
yeah. They're quite short episodes for both shows. I think it says here that
They're
there's
sort of
20,
standard.
27 episodes of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah, because the
Being
Netflix
series 1 and
seasons
series
tend
2.
to be about 13, 14 episodes. Don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's my pitch.
There's some good
Unbreakable,
pitches
damn it,
today.
damn it.
Apart from Mel's. Mel's is going to be rubbish.
Miracle. No,
No, it's not.
I know what
Mel.
Mel's pitching, and it's
Feeling
awesome.
really emotional.
Oh,
now.
I really want to. No,
I'm gonna cry.
I really want to. I really want to listen to yours.
So
Yeah.
let's listen to.
About sort of 5 minutes ago, I was fairly convinced as to what I was going to choose, and now I've just
Now
kind
you're all
of,
confused.
I thought, actually, this is going to be quite an easy choice this week, and then now it's suddenly not so easy.
So to make
So the
things more
pressure's on,
difficult,
Mel.
Yeah.
it's Mel and her pitch. Go for it.
So
You saved the best title for last.
Oh,
yes.
God, yeah.
So I am, like Juliette, going to pitch a podcast. And this podcast, as Christian says, is a brilliant title. It's called My Dad Wrote a Porno. Which, try explaining that to people. And a little bit of history of how I got into it. I work for a catering agency, and one of the women that books me into jobs there, therefore essentially kind of my boss, told me that I absolutely had to listen to it. So it's her fault. But I feel like it's deeply inappropriate to turn around to one of your employees and go, you know what you should listen to? My dad wrote a porno.
Yeah.
But thank you, Ned, because you did, and it's hilarious. So
Yeah.
the basic concept of it is there's a guy called Jamie Morton who his dad has genuinely written an erotic novel. He has a pen name, which I won't tell you because it's hilarious.
You have to-
and
yeah,
you
you
have
have
to
to-
listen
Right,
to it.
okay.
The pen name is Mason.
It's it revolves around cartoon characters, his
Yes.
pen name, but yeah. So every week on the podcast, him and a couple of his close friends, one of which is Alice Levine of Radio 1 Fame, they read a chapter of this book and just comment on it.
Right. Okay.
They're all very funny people, but
Yes.
the top thing really with this is how ridiculous this erotic novel is. Like, to the point that it is, I would say, kind of The Room status in a book, because it's so bad.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
It's really funny.
Are you going to say what the podcast is? No, the podcast. Sorry, what the porno is actually called? Because I think it's in
The porno is called Belinda Blinks. The main character is a woman named Belinda who works in the pots and pans industry.
She does.
And I can't remember the name of the company because that's rather.
I think it's actually just called Pots.
No, it's not. No, there is something specific. I can't remember what it is, but that's ridiculous as well. And it's clearly now this Jamie's dad doesn't appear to A, have any grasp on normal human interaction, or B, really understand what is actually sexy. I mean, if you're writing an erotic novel, generally.
A character
You
blinking
should, yeah,
isn't
you
really
should.
that
Well,
sexy.
yeah,
Just
I mean
one
that's not the worst of it though. There is,
No.
I think, in one of the first episodes, maybe the very first one, there's a scene where she's getting a little bit naked,
Yes.
as she does quite frequently in an erotic novel.
Yeah.
And her breasts are described as hanging like pomegranates.
Oh yeah, that was the second episode.
Oh, it's the second
I'm
episode.
very new to this. I'm
So it's
episode
all like
4.
it's weird analogies that he puts in there that just don't make any sense, and I feel like it's their reactions as well to this
Yeah.
situation, because it is Jamie's dad who's done it, so he
Yeah.
has all of those connotations of like,
There are
my
moments.
dad has written
Yeah.
like this is really there's a few moments where he literally pauses in the middle of a sentence because he's thrown up in his mouth a little bit.
Yeah, there are moments where he kind of just says something and then he kind of goes, "Wait, actually, no, my dad wrote this. This is weird."
Yeah, there's no grammar in it as well. The grammar is terrible.
I'm fairly new to it. I'm gonna kind of help you sell this
It
on
gets-
the fact that
yeah.
I'm fairly
The
new
titles
to it now.
are terrible as well. The titles of each chapter are ridiculous, and it's essentially 2 seasons they've done so far.
Yeah.
Apparently, the guy's dad has actually written 8 books, self-published,
Which is
because they
brilliant.
would need to be.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, so there's gonna be a lot more episodes.
Yes.
Series. But they do get progressively more outlandish and weird and stupid to the point it seeps into sci-fi at one point. I don't know how they got there, and you will spend most of every episode going, "What? I don't understand." And it is. I think it's the most popular podcast.
It is. Yes, it's
in
definitely.
the UK.
It is. We should be. The
It's
most.
got a lot of celebrity endorsements as well. So
Yeah.
they do footnotes, a little bit like we do with our interviews. Every so often you have an extra episode with an interview. They've got people like Daisy Ridley from Star Wars and things like that that
I
absolutely
didn't
love
know
the
that.
show and come on and talk about it. They were talking about making a movie of the book
Yeah.
and like who would play what.
Just to kind of like paint a picture, because I'm fairly new to this. I think I'm on episode 8 now, and I've been listening to it on the tube, which is the worst thing that you could possibly do. Because I'm on the tube at one point,
It's
just
very
going,
difficult to watch it
having like
in
a
public
breakdown.
in general.
In public, there was a moment the other day where I just shouted out the word "Thimble!" I just couldn't stop laughing. It makes sense. I'm just the tube
is
journeys
laugh
are
out
so
loud funny.
much better with my dad watching porno. It's so funny.
It is, and there have been a few moments. I mean, I said a lot of people that do listen to it have told stories of being on the tube and laughing out loud at something, or saying one word as you did, and then the person next to them turning around and going, Belinda Blinks, and they're like, yes!
We all know.
So it's like really cool on, and
all
everyone's
know why
just
we
like,
laugh.
and they've now released a book of
Yeah.
the first erotic novel that the dad wrote with all of their notes from
Yeah.
the show of what, and Alice is
a
funny
good
because
Christmas
Alice just gets
present.
really angry about it. And to give you an idea of the type of writing, aside from the pomegranate thing, there is a line in it at one point where he talks about a man grabbing a woman's cervix. He grabbed her cervix. And I think their reaction to that was mostly, can you grab a cervix? Is that actually possible? And if you did, would she actually like that? Because it's set up in a way that's like, she really loved it when I grabbed her cervix.
It's so funny.
Yeah, and it's a bit. And so in the footnotes at one point, they do get a doctor on to ask him if it's possible. There's a lot of like that.
pleasure
That would
for
never.
being grabbed by this.
I feel like the writer of this erotic novel probably has never. Well, I would say this, but he's a father, so he must have done. But it sounds like it's coming from someone who's never had sex and doesn't really understand how it works.
Yeah, but it's
Maybe he's only ever
Brilliant.
had sex with a test tube. And then it's a test tube
Possibly.
baby.
Maybe that would explain a lot.
I can't.
I
Yeah,
don't think you have to have sex with the test tube as such.
Well, you could.
But,
I
I
guess.
see your point.
But yeah. So to sum up, I think I've kind of rambled on for a long time there, but it is laugh out loud here, hilarious.
It is.
I went into it thinking, oh, I guess it's probably going to be kind of funny, and I've talked before. I'm quite difficult to make really laugh, and
Yeah.
I'd sit there just pissing myself sometimes. Like,
it
I
really,
cannot
really
cope.
hurts after a
We
while.
know
I
it's
was
funny.
too
I
much
really need
laughing.
to get into this because I've heard a lot about it.
It's
Everybody
absurd and
needs
hilarious
to
and-
get
yes.
into.
I'm going to
this.
get into the Standard Issue podcast as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean everything.
I
that
wanna-
we've
I wanna-
pitched,
yeah.
I comedy wise, I think we've done really well with this without
Yeah.
pitching.
It seems
Good
to me
job,
that ev-
guys.
It
Well
seems to me
done,
that everybody has pitched everybody's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
performance.
we
This
all
is true,
love
yeah, we
everything.
all
We're
love
all
that
really
happens.
into it.
or been convinced by.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good
Juliette's
luck making a
rating.
choice, man.
So in order,
Good luck.
we have BoJack Horseman, dark comedy. I just want to say as well for BoJack Horseman, he's writing a book about his life with Penguin Publishing, which is run by penguins. Just side,
Yes.
Always good.
just side go there. But so yeah, BoJack Horseman, some dark comedy. The Standard Issue podcast, Sarah Millican and other celebrity funny women and talking about whatever. I think it's just a general
Everything.
podcast.
Yeah.
General.
Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which I promise I won't sing the theme tune again, which is just the wackiest, looniest comedy. It's hilarious. And My Dad Wrote a Porno, which is a fantastic title. And,
Yeah, the title tells it
Yeah.
all, really, doesn't
and
it?
it's something that just sounds brilliant.
So
Right. Okay. Yes, it's not an easy one actually. I
No.
thought after like the
I
first.
thought last week was hard.
Yeah, after the first couple of pictures, I thought, yeah, I think I know what's going to go on here.
To be fair, like I feel like whichever one you pick, you're
You're
not
winning.
you're not
you're winning
gonna
a
waste
life.
your time. You're not gonna be
whichever one you go
disappointed,
for.
I think.
Yeah.
See, I'd quite like to try some of the podcasts.
Just
Because
do
again, it's
something
kind
different.
of a bit more
It's different.
Yeah.
Plus, you know, the good thing with podcasts is you can listen to it on the tube or
Whenever
whilst
you
you're
want.
doing something else.
In the car.
I'm sorry,
In
but
the
you
car.
can't
Yeah, but
actually get
I live
Netflix
5
now.
minutes
You
away
can
from my
download
job, so-
Netflix onto your
Well,
phone.
there you are then.
You can't watch Netflix while driving a car because you will
No,
That
you
sounds
can't.
so
but
much like
you
a challenge.
get challenge.
you can't. But you can now download links from Netflix.
Okay.
New thing. Great.
I think I'm gonna have to say it's the Unbreakable. What is it, Kimmy Smith?
Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Unbreakable
Yeah.
Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because it does sound like kind of.
Kelly's so
lunacy.
happy she won something.
I know it's what it's everybody's so happy when they.
Like,
I'm
it's a
actually
personal
genuinely happy. I
indictment.
might cry. I would like to thank my no, I'm kidding.
I would like to thank the Lord.
I would like to thank Tina Fey for creating Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Carry on.
Yeah,
Go.
it does. It does. I do like just kind of like I've mentioned before, kind of lunacy and idiocy.
Lunacy is
Yeah.
always fun.
Yeah.
And it does sound very, very entertaining. So I think I'll give that one a shot. And,
It is, yeah, you won't be
Yeah.
disappointed.
You're not going to be disappointed. And the theme tune will get stuck in your head.
But that's before you do have to actually watch it, stroke listen to all of the other ones as well.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
I
at
agree,
some point.
Put them on your to-do list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can do that on Netflix.
It's gonna
can't you?
get
With, like
Progressively longer and longer.
bookmark this or
Yeah,
whatever.
you can add things
I
to
imagine
lists.
so.
I think you can. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I won. I'm happy now.
Well, there's our episode, guys. Any final thoughts?
I have a final thought. I just want to do a quick little plug for a short film that came out last week, I believe, that I'm in. Yay! I did some acting, people. So it's a short film by a friend of mine called Sasha Larry. It's called The Little Guy Returns Again. It is actually a whole series of kind of comedy shorts about the little guy, who is essentially just this really small guy who looks really nerdy and geeky and kind of weak, but then he kind of turns into a superhero-esque, ridiculously strong, saves the world sort of situation. I particularly like this episode, this short film that I was in, because
You're in it.
I'm in it, and I'm a massive narcissist. I think this is the best one, but I feel like you, Christian and Matt, will probably particularly like it because it's got a lot of like little references to anime stuff. Probably more
Okay.
Christian then, which apparently are very good, but it totally goes over the top of my head.
Okay.
But it is very short. It's to the point. It's very funny and a little bit surreal and strange. So
Cool.
you can find it on YouTube. It's The Little Guy Returns Again.
Great
Yay.
stuff.
Brilliant. Cool.
Cool. Once more with feeling, Christian.
Cool.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Ah.
No, that was
Everyone's
good. I'll
trying
check
to
that
make
out.
me cry today.
I'll check that out. I'll check that out.
Christian.
There's a
Yeah.
whole.
Before we do the outro, can I tell my duck joke?
You want to tell? Okay, he's going to tell a joke.
Yay!
Okay.
In the spirit of comedy.
So, because I mentioned I was going to do it last week, so I thought I'd do it. Okay, so here we go.
It's better be good, man.
A duck walked into Boots, grabbed some lipstick, and then went to the till. I went, put it on my bill.
Yeah, you told that joke really badly. Tell you another joke.
You want me to tell my other joke?
Yeah, do it now.
All right, two clowns. No, that's wrong. Two. This is why I can't
Is
tell
this the one about cannibal clowns?
Yes,
Yeah.
two. Wait, is it two clowns eating a cannibal? Two clowns eating a clown.
Two cannibals
No, I got
eating
it,
a clown.
One turns to the other and says, "Does this
Oh,
taste
funny
funny
to
to you?"
you.
I want to say, by the way, that the only reason I asked Kelly to tell that joke is because she always gets it wrong. That's the only reason. I
Because
asked.
clowns are evil. I
Yeah, but
always
you-
assume that the clowns are the one
Oh,
eating
She
people.
always gets it wrong. That's the only reason I asked.
Well, at least that was funny. So.
There is another two cannibals joke.
What's that?
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, it says there's two cannibals and they're eating a bloke, and they say, okay, you start the head and work your way down. I'll start the feet and work my way up, and we'll meet in the middle. And after a few minutes, one of them looks up and goes, "Oh, are you all right? Are you all right? How are you finding it?" He goes, "Oh, I'm having a ball." "Oh no, you're going too fast."
Hey.
dear.
It's the day of terrible jokes.
Well,
It's a comedy episode.
Yeah.
it is. Ba-bum.
Hope you enjoyed that. That was our comedy episode. We went off on a bit of a non-comedic tangent at one point. I don't know how much of that will make it in. It's hard to not talk politics.
Yeah.
But
We had some good
yeah,
satire
Yeah.
Yes.
things there, though, like John Oliver. And
I'm
things
sure
like that.
it's hilarious. I don't know. I have to listen to it back and be like, just how much Trump did we talk about?
Yeah.
A lot.
This was the comedy/Trump special episode of the podcast.
Next week, we originally planned, when we were discussing it, to do a sort of a big Star Wars review, because obviously Rogue One comes out the week after. And me and Kaylee chatting about it, kind of can't be bothered to watch Star Wars. So the concept was, does Star Wars hold up? And for me and Kaylee, it seems like no, because we don't want to watch
Can't
it.
be bothered to watch
Really?
it. Like 18
I don't-
hours, man.
I know there's millions of people
You
who
don't have to watch every
Yeah, but-
single one.
but
There's
even
no
though
Star
I was
Wars that
saying-
stands up.
I
feel
was
like we
saying
have to
cut out
watch-
the original, the prequels, and just watch the
Yeah.
main
I
I feel
the
like,
prequels
I
are
feel like
shite.
if I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
watch all of
But
Star Wars,
even
I'm going to
then-
have to watch all the stuff.
But even then, I kind of don't want to do it. So I know there's millions of people who would jump at any opportunity as an excuse to watch Star Wars, but I'm not one of them apparently.
So we need to talk about
so we
off
will
air
we will
what
talk
will do.
about sci-fi and Star Wars. But if you guys get round to watching Star Wars, then do. But I might not.
I'm going
So
to
it's
do
quite
nothing
bad.
but watch Star Wars just in defiance. I don't like
I want
change,
to
and you
try and
change
watch
the
it.
plan.
We only have 2 recording sessions left, guys. We're doing 2 episodes next week and 2 episodes the week after, and that's us done for the year.
No.
I know. Depressing, isn't it?
Yes, all right. I'm going to drink myself silly and eat lots of mince pies after that, so we'll all be good.
That's
Yeah.
basically what everyone's going to do.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Next week, Matt will be reviewing, what did you pick? Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yep, I won. Woo!
And have some comedy goodness. Yeah, we've all won now.
Oh,
Yay!
yeah.
How-
Not Matt, though.
No.
Matt never
Matt
wins.
never wins.
Aw.
Matt wins every week because he gets to watch something.
We can have a pitch to Matt
True.
special where Matt gets pitched us some stuff.
Yeah.
He'd just be talking us into watching Gotham.
Gotham.
That's what he
pick-
does anyway.
But he has to pick one thing for each of us.
One episode of Gotham for each of us to watch.
That would be quite good, though. If
Yeah.
we all only watch one episode and it's got no
Each.
context
Entirely at random.
whatsoever.
Brilliant.
That would be the StarCraft 2 supercut of all the cutscenes.
Yeah. Right.
Good stuff. Thank you all for listening. Find us on Twitter at Deleted Scene Pod, as I've said many times, and find us on Facebook, The Deleted Scene Podcast. Juliette, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Again, not sexually. Yet.
It would be great to have you again. Again, not sexually. But yeah, no, thank you very much. We are. I hope we were not too rambling and unprofessional, although that is our. You know, that is what it says in our business
I
cards.
love rambling and unprofessional. That's my favourite thing.
Well, that's what we're really particularly good at.
No, it's been a delight, and thank you so much for having me.
you want to do any shout-outs? Where can people find you?
Yes, thank you. Well, people can find me in my flat, but don't come there because I rarely actually wash my clothes. But you can also find me on Twitter, where I smell a lot better, at Juliette Burton, JulieTeBurton. You can find me on my website, www.julietteburton.co.uk. Facebook is Juliette Burton Writer Performer, and on all of those places you can hear about all the latest things I'm up to. I do have a YouTube channel as well if you want to check out any of my trailers for my shows, and I have shows coming up in the UK. I'm heading back to Australia. If anyone is listening in Australia, please come to see me at the Adelaide Fringe in February and March. But when I come back from Australia, I'll be performing at the Leicester Square Theatre on the 16th of March with the show that I was performing up in Edinburgh in August, which sold out every single day. Sold 99% of my tickets up in Edinburgh, which I was delighted with. Thanks, that's second year in the row, which I'm really happy with. But yeah, I'll be performing that show, Decision Time, at Leicester Square Theatre, 16th of March. And if you want to come to see Happy Hour, which is the new material night and is free,
which is really good.
Oh, thanks, guys. The next one is the 10th of February, and that's at the Canvas Cafe in Shoreditch on Hanbury Street, very close to Brick Lane.
Wonderful stuff. Right, well, thank you again.
Thank you for having me. It's just been, I keep saying it. It's just, should we just go have sex? Because that's what's going
I think that's where it's all heading.
Yeah, it's clearly where all of this is headed. It's been a joy, and I hope that everyone listening had a good time as well.
I do. We just want your love. That's all we crave at the moment. So drop us a review.
Yep.
Give us a retweet. Let us know that the show is fantastic and amazing and awesome and too long.
as we just went over the 3-hour mark recording, so yes.
Brilliant.
Yes. So give us a tweet, scream from the rooftops. We would very much appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and
calm your tits and fuck off.